One of the mysteries that Bepi is hoping to solve is how the planet formed. To do this, ESA's Mercury Planetary Orbiter, or MPO, is carrying a raft of scientific instrumentation. One particular instrument, called MIXS, may reveal what Mercury is made of and how it formed. The lead researcher for its operation is Emma Bunce. So Emma, thanks for coming to speak to us. Now, this is a model of MIXS. What is MIXS?
That's right. This is an exact full-scale replica of our instrument, which is flying on the BepiColombo mission to Mercury. So MIXS is the Mercury Imaging X-ray Spectrometer, and it measures at X-ray wavelengths, so that's part of the electromagnetic spectrum. So it works a little bit like a camera, but it's working at a different wavelength.
So does it work as a standard camera? Because you have a lens and sort of the light comes through.
Not really. It's actually much more complex than that, and that's part of what's really neat about this instrument, actually. We're using a very special type of optic called a micro-channel plate. And it's those channels that are capable of focusing X-rays or channeling X-rays into the system.
So why measure X-rays?
The X-rays coming from Mercury's surface actually tell us what the planet is made of. It gives us an elemental composition on the surface of Mercury at very fine detail. So what happens is an X-ray photon from the sun comes in, knocks an electron out of its low energy state in a particular atom and creates a gap. And then another electron will drop down into the gap and release energy as it does so.
And the energy it releases is X-rays?
Is an X-ray, a fluorescent X-ray, and that's what we measure, a fingerprint of the atom on the surface.
Knowing the chemical composition of the planet's surface is critical, because it may allow us to work out how Mercury formed. And there are several theories in play. So what will all this data tell us, and what do you hope to find out?
The composition of a planet tells you about the situation that was around in the protoplanetary disk as the planet was forming. So we need to try and build up a picture, the best picture we can, of the composition of the surface, and then we can learn about the formation processes for Mercury and how it's evolved over time.
So what are the current theories of how Mercury was formed?
There are some formation theories around, but at the moment, none of them are able to explain all of the observations that we have of Mercury. One is that Mercury has a very large iron core. That's something that's very unusual about Mercury. It's very dense. So the iron core takes up about 75% of the radius of the planet.
Yes,
so
that's huge.
Significantly bigger than the other terrestrial planets. And so that makes you think about what that has to say about the formation of the planet. So was it an orderly process, i.e., did it just happen to form in a very iron-rich environment?
So this is the accretion that sort of everything sort of falls in.
Yes.
Yes.
So a sort of pre-sorted protoplanetary disk that was very iron-rich and allowed Mercury to form in the way that we see it today. Alternative theories would say that something dramatic has happened in Mercury's history. For example, a giant impact where two bodies of similar size, one of them Mercury, collided and obviously blew off lots of the mantle and crust of both bodies, and then possibly those bodies merged together to create
leaving a
Mercury.
big iron crust. Oh, sorry, big iron core.
Exactly, leaving behind a larger than typical iron core. And then there are other theories, for example, hit-and-run theories, where a bigger object collides with smaller Mercury, and that could have happened multiple times, according to these different theories. Hopefully what we're going to do is give the theorists the best chance to come up with a formation scenario which will explain all of the observations that we have and give us a better picture of how that tiny planet in our solar system has formed and survived in its location so close to the sun.
So this was all designed and built here at Leicester?
Yes, the original principal investigator of this instrument was Professor George Fazer. And sadly, and very suddenly, he passed away in 2014, and that's when I took over the role as principal investigator of the instrument. But this is George's genius sitting in front of us.
So this is George's legacy, and it's going to be going to Mercury.